Now, another way that I can make selections. There's something in here called the color range selector. Now in a picture like this isn't going to do me very much good. But if I'm in a picture that, for example, has a person standing in front of a solid blue background, maybe I shot upward and they just have the sky behind them, then it's a really good way to remove the sky, or to anything that's a solid color I can get that way. And the way that I get to it, I come up to the select menu and I go to color range. Now, this right here is saying, okay, so where do you want to sample? Well, I can sample the colors coming out here, and I can say, okay, I want everything that's this brown. And you'll see that it added the brown into there. Now over here, I've got add more or subtract. So I go to add more, and I can say, no, I want to add in a whole bunch of these brown colors to it. And I want to add in the white down here. Oh, not on add anymore. There we go. And you can see how that's getting more and more and more that it's going to select. So if this was the blue, I would just click and drag it out and say, I want all this blue. Okay? Or I can come in here and I can say, I want the reds. I want the yellows, the greens. I want the highlights. Grab me the lightest parts of it, the midtones, the shadows, the skin tones. Okay? So I've got all these different ways to select these. Let's go back to sampled colors. I'm going to click and drag across that wall to get a bunch of it. And when I'm done, if I click OK, you'll see that it just selects that color range that you had. Again, for a picture like this, not going to be very useful, but for something that has nice big pieces of a single color, it's a really quick and easy way to grab that color. All right. And the last technique that I want to talk about for selecting things is something called a channel pull. And when we talk about color in a later video, we're going to talk about one color mode that's RGB, red, green, blue, another one that's CMYK. But you know, those are different channels, okay? Over here in my panels, by layers, I've got something that says channels. And this is saying this is an RGB image, which means everything you're seeing here is made up of red, green, and blue. And underneath it, there's my red, there's my green, there's my blue. So I can just look at the blue channel if I want to by deselecting everything but blue, but blue. So this is everything that would be blue by itself. Now, some of this would not be blue, you know, in the final picture because it would be mixing with red and green to get the colors we want. But blue would be laid all in this part. This would all be the stuff where green was laid. This would all be the stuff where red was laid. So with a channel pull, the trick is it really works best if it's a very high contrast picture, like a very dark thing on a light background or a very light thing on a dark background. And it's going to require some refining, some quick masked work or something like that afterward, because it's really hard to get it perfect. But the idea is that you would identify which one of these channels made that image stand out the most from the background, made it the most contrast. And once you knew what that was, you can come down here and just click this little thing there, this little dotted circle, and it selects that channel. Okay, it selects the contrasted part of that channel. You can also do it really quickly. Let's go ahead and deselect that by just doing a command click on a Mac or control click on a Windows computer on one of these channels. So I just selected all the green, just selected all the red, just by doing command. So again, command click on the channel on a Mac or control click on the channel on a PC. So that one's limited in its use. It really, again, is going to be if you have a very, very bright background and it's a very dark thing you want to grab, or a very dark background and it's a very light thing you want to grab, then that's a great way to get started, and then you'll probably end up needing to do some refining after that. Now, let's look at one more thing. Those are the ways we're going to talk about doing the selections. Let's talk about one more thing we can do with a selection. I'm going to go back to the special shape selection, and I'm going to create that no sign here. And so right now this is selected. So if I were to hit delete, whoops, forgot I need to go up here and make the selection, important step. If I were to hit delete, it deletes that thing. Well, what if I wanted to delete everything else but that thing? What I want to do is I want to invert my selection. And I can do that by going up to Select, and there's Inverse right there. Or the keyboard shortcut is Shift-Command-I on a Mac or Shift-Control-I on a Windows computer. That just flips it. So now everything else is selected except for that. And if I were to hit Delete, then it would just leave that image in that selection. So that is inverse selection, and those are the different techniques of selection. In the next section, we're going to talk about layers, and then after that, we'll be talking about masks, and you'll see that when we get to the masks, we are going to have a lot of selection going on. And so practice these things. I know that it seems like a lot of different techniques to do these things, but you'll be glad you have them, because selecting things is one of the things you'll be doing most often when working with Photoshop.